Lots of action and commotion here. Body camera video shows some intense moments after a Houston police officer shot a man, but footage of the shooting itself nowhere to be found. You're watching Fox 26 Crime Files. I'm your host, Abigail Dye. Police say the officer who shot this robbery suspect didn't have his camera activated when the shooting happened. And according to Texas law, that's acceptable.
I know it hurts. Stay away.
Y'all trying to kill me?
Hey, relax.
How many times y'all gonna do this?
Intense moments caught on body cams after a Houston police officer shot the suspect.
The suspect's down. He's gonna have a gunshot wound to his back. One gunshot wound to his back.
A bullet in the back after police say Kevin Mitchell robbed this dollar store of beer and took off running. Assistant Chief Keith Cephas said in a press video that an officer chased Mitchell, who tried to take the officer's gun. And after that,
Mr. Mitchell attempted to take the officer's taser. The officer drew and discharged his duty weapon, striking Mr. Mitchell.
But none of it caught on camera.
The pursuing officer's body-worn camera was not activated during the incident,
Which doesn't break any Texas laws.
There's no law in Texas mandating what a municipality or a municipal police department has to do with respect to their body-worn camera program.
Legal analyst Chris Tritico explains that departments don't even have to have a body camera policy unless they receive grants. But still, HPD has a policy in place.
It's kind of up to each department as to what that policy looks like.
Not only what the policy looks like, but it's up to each department as to how effective the policy is.
HPD's policy says officers responding to priority 1 and 2 calls need to activate the camera upon dispatch or while driving there, and should activate them prior to taking any police action.
It's up to the integrity of the officer to leave it on the entire time he's out there or she's out there. And then if it's not left on the entire time, it's up to the integrity of the department to do something about it.
HPD said in a tweet they're still reviewing why the officer's camera wasn't activated, and that next week Chief Troy Finner expects to announce revisions to the body camera policy. Now, why that officer's body camera wasn't on, that's a question that we're all still asking. I'm joined now by Mitchell's mother, Tylen Billingsley. Thank you so much for being here. And first of all, I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I mean, as a mother, under any circumstances, it must be really hard to get a call that your son has been shot by police. And kind of take me back to that day. What was that call like for you?
It was actually a friend of his that called me to let me know that I needed to get over there. And I did. When we arrived, the officer that I spoke with, he said he had just arrived at the scene, so he would need to speak to the investigator. One of the other officers told me that my son had been transported to the hospital and he was undergoing surgery.
And that had to be just such a scary moment for you. And realizing that there's no video of this incident at all, how do you feel about that?
I didn't expect it to be any video, really, you know.
Really?
It just didn't feel right, you know, the way they were handling everything. When he was in Houston police custody, the investigator was letting me know the condition of my son. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't let me see him or anything like that, but he was letting me, you know, I could call him and get an update on my son. The minute they transferred him over to Houston, all contact was just cut off. And they just kept telling me everything was a need-to-know basis. You know, how is my son doing? That's a need-to-know basis. Well, who's the sergeant? That's a need-to-know basis. So it was like every question I had was, they responded with it's a need-to-know basis.
Almost pushed off in a way.
Exactly.
You felt. And I did want to address the circumstances. We spoke and said, you know, your son was accused of robbing a store previous to this shooting and does have a criminal history. And some people watching this story might say, well, if you're robbing a store, what did you expect? What is your response to that mentality?
Nobody deserves to have their life taken. Yes, it was a theft. He went into a store, he stole a pack of beer. For those that feel like, you know, that you should be shot over a pack of beer, you know, it's beyond me, you know.
Yeah. No, I can certainly understand that. And what would make this right in your mind? What does justice look like?
Do I feel my son should take accountability for his part in this? Yes. But also the officer. You know, everybody is on the same page. You know, they watch these videos and everything, but it's always the same at the end of each video. He didn't have to shoot him. You know, he had already tackled him and was on top of him. There was no reason for him to put the gun to his back and pull the trigger. So.
Well, Tylen, that's the time we have, but thank you so much for joining us and giving your input. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving on here, a store is hit for the 11th time by burglars, but this one is really personal. The store owner survived being shot in the face by robbers before and even lost a brother to a robbery. Sherman DeSalle talked to the man about the sheer will that keeps this store open.
You're not just hurting me, you're hurting everybody in this area.
Derek Bass owns newly acquired Wealth and Fashion off the North Freeway. He and his brother started the business from scratch, which makes it even more upsetting that people would do this. Early Thursday morning, video shows 6 unidentified men busting up the front door and yanking it open with a chain tied to a truck.
They took clothes, they took shoes, they took expensive brands, local brands, because we try to support all the local people that have clothing brands in the city.
The thieves even busted up the back storage room where the priciest items are placed overnight in case thieves come back.
They got into the room and just passed everything out and through basically like a little hole. And that's how they pretty much got all of our valuables.
Surveillance footage shows the thieves getting away 6 minutes later in a U-Haul. It's the 11th time the store's been hit. The worst was March 19th, 2022, when Bass says his brother and business partner, Matthew Archield, was shot and killed in the store while 4 men attempted a robbery there.
It hurts me, it makes me angry, but I think honestly now that I can't see it don't hurt me as much.
Just last May, Bass was followed home after closing the store. 3 men attacked him and he was shot twice in the face. He managed to shoot 2 of the men who died from their injuries. I asked him what motivates him to keep the doors open on the north side in an area that's well known for constant crime.
You constantly getting robbed. Why do you stay open? Why don't you relocate? That's the question that a lot of people are going to ask. What's your response to that?
I just feel like I wouldn't be doing my brother's life justice to just pick up and just leave from this spot. He didn't give his life up for me to just pick up and just run.
Moving on to some graphic video of a suspect shooting a man 18 times and getting away. Take a look. This is video from 24 Hour Tire off South Loop from January 16th. A suspect shot a man 18 times, killing him, then took his wallet and ran. An employee was also shot once in the arm, and police are still trying to identify this man. I'm joined now by one of the store owners, Robert Moore. Thanks for joining us. So, watching that video happen at your store, what's your initial reaction? How does that make you feel?
Violated, pretty much. Once again, as I've told you before, you know, when you set out to be a public servant, to do things for those that are in need, and for something as, you know, something as you know, so detrimental as this that took place, you know, it's very difficult for you to it's very difficult for you to have the same mindset as you had before, with the same passion and drive to serve the public. It's like you ask yourself, you know, is it truly appreciated?
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. I can see that mindset happening. I mean, it's such a graphic and gruesome video of a really gruesome crime. And what do you think should be done about the crime in Houston? I know we were talking the other night about this.
Well, Abigail, I have to first start off by just saying, when you talk about what should be done, I think city leaders need to take a new look at the way they handle bonds, the way they you know, respond to different calls. Because a lot of times, the HPD team that came out, they were fantastic. They came out, they were very responsive. They did what they had to do. They surveyed the crime scene. But there's been other instances where that didn't happen. Okay, and so, you know, moving forward, as I said, you know, we have to take a look at what's going on with bail reform, with these people, you know, getting locked up and they're getting right back out, committing, you know, even harsher crimes. And it's continuing to happen over and over and over again. These people have no respect for human life. I mean, if a person have no respect for human life, what place do they have on the streets?
Absolutely, and I can really understand where you're coming from. We have a whole series on this called Breaking Bond, and again we see these violent criminals getting back out on the streets and offending. Right. And let me ask you, how is your employee doing, the one who was shot in the arm?
Right now, he's very shaken up. He had to go through reconstructive surgery. So, you know, he was just an innocent bystander doing his job when this assailant came to target this individual. For what reason, don't know. But this goes further than just him being shot. This is traumatizing. You know, he may not even come back for employment anymore because he may not be able to deal with what he saw, what happened to him, you know, and so it's therapy that needs to take place. It's a lot of things that have to take place at this point with this employee.
Yeah. And again, the police are still looking for this suspect, so we definitely hope that they find him and we get justice for your employee and this man who died.
All I can say is for the perpetrator, do the right thing. Turn yourself in. Don't allow what you've done to someone else happen to you by being brought in. Turn yourself in because, you know, it's pretty much, they're going to exhaust all resources for this type, you know, of crime. So the right thing to do is just, you know, turn yourself in and be done with it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Very well put. Thank you, Robert.
You're welcome.
Moving on here to some more disturbing video. We have a lot of it on Crime Files. Someone is seen throwing a cat out of their car window on the highway. Sherman DeSalle has that story.
I was mad, I was traumatized.
Josne Valdez tells Fox 26 he was driving to the airport for work on January 15th when his dash cam captured a white Escalade straight ahead. We've blurred the license plate since the driver has not been charged.
I saw the car, he was like driving like crazy, going from one side to another, and then I saw the window roll down and I just saw when he threw the cat out the window.
The small cat's body bounced onto the highway after being thrown out of the car traveling over 60 miles per hour. Oh my God. The rear dash cam video shows the cat rolling to the shoulder of the road, narrowly missing other cars. Valdez honked his horn, trying to get the driver's attention.
My first thought was to get him on video.
Valdez, who has 3 cats of his own, has seen it once before while driving, and the SPCA says it's more common than you may think.
Thankfully, we do have video to look and see these things happen all too frequently, unfortunately.
Julie Kunstl says those responsible could end up with jail time and hefty fines.
You are committing a felony when you commit animal cruelty. And just take note, there are people out there with phones or they've got dash cams, and they are going to take video of you, and they're going to share it with the Houston SPCA and local authorities.
Valdez hopes whoever did this is caught. He urges anyone who doesn't want their animal to choose a much safer option when getting rid of it.
If you can't have that animal anymore, don't do that. Just turn it into a shelter.
That is it for this week's Fox 26 Crime Files. I'm your host, Abigail Dye. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.